I went through 10 years of deep, dark healing. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yes. And it was on and off again for 10 years, a very strenuous healing process. And this is what it taught me. The number one thing it taught me was that even though I feel like utter death during this process, that at the end of it, I would feel literally as light as an angel. And the reason I say that is, I mean, when you're seriously giving yourself the focus that you deserve, and when I say focus, I mean you're really getting in there and resolving some deep, challenges, struggles, discomforts, and even things that you didn't even realize were an issue. When you're in this healing process, I mean, it really exposes so much that you're just like, what is happening? And so you may even feel, this is how I felt, as things get worse. I'm like, what is happening? How could things be worse? But it's almost like life or yourself, like you have to undo to redo, like you have to undo the terrible things that you feel about yourself, about those around you, and you have to undo those. And it's not a fun experience by any means, but man, when you go through it, when you get through it and you're on the other side, you just feel so light. Like now I feel so light. And it doesn't mean anything is perfect in my life. If anything, I've pushed myself as far to the edge as I ever have right now in life. And I feel so good about it. I think maybe at some point in the future, I'll share this whole journey. But if anybody knew the ins and outs and some of the things and decisions, and y'all would be like, girl, what are you doing to yourself? But yeah, it's like living on the edge is like keeping me alive and excited. So yeah, yes. So going through the healing process was a terrifying, painful experience, but I realized the benefit of it. It really helped me break myself open and break myself down and get down to the nitty gritty. And one of the things I didn't understand at the time was that, again, like, healing is a process. It's not just something that you snap your fingers and all your sorrows and pain are gone. Like, that's not what happens. It's not some injection. It's not some pill. It's not something that you just can take to be done with it. It requires some unearthing. It requires some, like breaking down some layers and getting down to the root. Like, it really requires some stuff. And another thing I realized is that these things happen in phases. Like, the healing process isn't a one and done. And it's like you can't expect for all the years that you've accumulated all this pain and trauma stored in your body, you can't expect for it just to automatically quickly disappear. And that was one thing that I definitely had to learn. I definitely expected, like, okay, yes, this is tough. I'll read a couple books. I'll journal a few things. And that should be good. Yeah, 40, I guess at the time, 33 years of trauma and unforeseeable things that I had no control over that happened in my body. Sure. Yeah, but it should be over like in 6 months to a year, right? And it's like, yeah, no. No, that's not how it goes. And it's really too, like, the healing process happens in phases. So it's almost like the first phase is what I call like the breaking, or it's where you really fall apart and you really are like, what am I doing? Who am I? Why is this happening to me? That's when you really go through all that. And you're just at the point where you're like sick and tired of being where you are and for things to be the way that they are. And you're just like, I've had enough. And that is a very pivotal point that I find a lot of women escape. Again, they think that they can just jump over this breaking and that things are just going to be okay. And that's just not how it works. And in a good way, I feel like we wouldn't we wouldn't have the most like long standing results if we could just jump hurdles. And even though it sounds good in theory to just be able to skip along, it really doesn't do us any justice. So going through these phases truly, like I found in my experience, is just, this is the best way, and this is the way for things to really change and for you to truly heal, and not to look back again at something and question it again. So like I said, the breaking is really like falling apart and really allowing something to come in and soothe you, right? And so then I would say the next season or the next chapter or the next part of this experience is then like where you kind of have this like the shedding and this almost like awakening. It's like you realize, okay, all these things that you've experienced in your past, why they happen, you've taken the time, journaled it all out, or gotten therapized, whatever, you've talked to whoever, gotten it all done and out of your system, and now you're just like, you know what, okay, things can be different. I'm gonna be different. I don't want to be that person. I don't want those things that I've gone through to continue to have such a strong hold over me. I want things to be different. Okay. And so then now you're in a good place, because now you have the space in your body and your heart to welcome in a change, welcome in a new identity, welcome in a new way of living. And that's such a beautiful space to be in, because things are so hopeful. Before, you're just like, what is going on? Life is falling apart. Maybe I should have just left it the way it was. Maybe I shouldn't even have gone through trying to heal this stuff, because this is too much. Yeah. And yeah, but once you get to that second part, it really is, it's where you can see light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. You're like, okay, it isn't all misery, but you do have to go through, like I said, that first part before you can get to the next stage, which is like an awakening, if you want to call it that. But yeah, so that's what I've learned, is that yeah, these things takes time. And even though, we are talking about life or death, I mean, it sounds maybe dramatic, but for me, healing meant my life. It meant me living or dying. And again, this is my own experience. I don't know if anyone else relates to me, but me just living a life that was not meant for me, and me being a person that I knew wasn't truly me, I could not continue living life that I essentially felt like I had no control over. And it just didn't reflect me, so I'm like, no, so it felt like it felt like it was life or death. So I had to make very intense decisions, and it was worth it. So again, honor yourself, show yourself love by allowing this process. And for those of you who, this sounds a little scary, right? Because you're like, why would I open up wounds that, first of all, let's address that. Okay, you're not opening up wounds that are closed, because chances are they're not fully healed. Like, that's what a trauma is it's a wound, right? And so if you think that you have this wound and that you haven't taken the time to fully heal it, yeah, I don't even think you have a scab. I think you might just have a Band-Aid that's just been on there for years and it's fallen apart and it's disintegrated and it's barely even covering the wound, right? So you deserve it for yourself to take the time to soothe and put salve on that wound so it can really heal, to really get in there and clean it up so that it can heal. And yeah, I think you deserve it. And I just hope that you all get to the point where you think you deserve it, for those who don't. And for those of you who are like, yeah, girl, this isn't it, right? That you're like, what I've been doing, the life that I've been living before this is, I can't continue this, then cheers to you for making such a huge decision. And despite the fact that it's not going to be easy, but you are worth all the effort. You're so worth it. And I'm so happy and proud of you for honoring yourself. Yeah. I was going to say put yourself first, but I know some people may not be accepting to that phrase, but at least giving yourself some level of focus and priority, you know? So I applaud you for that. So, in closing, if I could say one thing to the woman who is going through this healing process or wants to go through it, is you are bigger than your pain. You know, you're worth more than the time and space that it takes to heal, but you are so worth it. Till next time, cheers.